Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 96 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. This week we're going to start off with a couple of emails, one from Lewis and one from Zarko. Talk about Thursday's shave of the day. Talk about a YouTube video that came out, and what makes this one special, at least for me, is that, well, this guy hasn't done a lot of YouTube videos here in the recent past, so I'll tell you all about that, and, well, I'll link to it too. And he's right, of course, because I do it the same way. Playing with pens. Tell you about what I did with my fountain pens this week, and all is good. So tell you all about that. Wednesday's shave of the day. That was, well, today. There's something going on with the show, specifically for next week, and I'll tell you what that is. No, I'm not going to spill the beans just yet. Now I'll tell you what that is and why, more importantly. And, then the rant. Who decides? Yeah, who decides? And are you okay with that? It's just a question. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that there's only 2 shaves of the day this week. And there's a reason for that. Not because I forgot shaving, not because I stopped shaving. You know, no, I shaved every day. No issues there. It's just that, well, I've been busy at work. I've been busy here at home. I'm getting ready to do something next weekend. And quite honestly, I would shave. I would thoroughly enjoy it, thoroughly enjoy myself. I would go down the road. I have my recorder in the truck. I have my microphone in the truck. Everything is set up. All I got to do is put it on my head and turn it on. And I just never got around to it. So rather than bore you with trying to, recreate the moment, as it were, I decided just to put a whole bunch of other stuff in this show, and, we'll call it a day. Anyhow, there you go, and let's get on with this thing. So I got an email from Lewis, doing things yourself. Hey, Rick, I wanted to add my 2 cents on your last show, episode 95. My father taught me at a young age that if I could learn to work on my own cars, then I could save a few bucks. I'm now 27 and have always done things that a lot of people don't do or don't care to do. From working on the family car to finding a better way to shave. My truck, for example, is a 1996 GMC half-ton pickup that I've had for about 7 years. My older brother had it before me, and without going into a whole lot of detail, tore it up. There isn't a system on it that I haven't touched due to a problem. But even doing all that work, it's still cheaper than buying a new one. It might not look like much, but to quote my brother, it rides and drives like a Cadillac. I look forward to the next show. Thanks, Lewis. Well, Lewis, first off, congratulations on doing it yourself. The other nice thing about having a truck like that is I bet you don't have payments on it, do you? And you know, people don't think about this a lot, but you know, $200 or $300 or more going out every single month. That adds up. You know, if you look at $200 over the course of a year is just about $2,500, $2,400, but it's just about $2,500. You know, and if you have a 4-year loan, for example, there's $10,000 right there going out your pocket. That's a lot of money. It's amazing when you think about it. When you add up the cost of loans, even at low interest rates, it really is just an amazing phenomena. And, you know, you kind of think to yourself, how much could I be doing with those resources if I didn't have to pay on this debt? So, good stuff. More importantly, congratulations on being out there and doing it, and at least trying, at least giving it a shot, even if you screw up, you know. I mean, realistically, just like in a lot of things in life, you don't really learn from your successes. You learn from your failures. because those are the things that you have to sit down, scratch your head, and think about. So people are scared to fail. But what they don't realize is that by that very admission that they're scared to fail, what they're really saying is that they're scared to learn. And isn't that a sad statement to make? You know, if you were to ask people, are you scared of failure? They'd probably say, well, yeah. Now, if you ask those same people, well, are you scared to learn? They probably look at you like you had three heads. What, are you crazy? No, of course I'm not afraid to learn. I learn all the time. Really? Well, if you are okay learning, why are you scared of failing? So, Lewis, congratulations, because you're out there, you're not afraid to try, you're not afraid to learn. Good stuff. And amazingly enough, a young man, too, you know. I'm, just about double your age at this point. Yeah, I'm not that old, but but it is amazing, and it warms my heart. It truly does when I run into younger men, and women for that matter, who are not afraid of trying, who are not afraid of learning, who are almost intrigued by it. It's what makes them tick. I know I was talking to a colleague of mine, and we're both of that same mindset in that for us, doing something, it's not so much about getting the job done, really. It's more about the learning. It's more about what can I discover that's new that I haven't run into? You know, we talk about things like plumbing projects and electrical issues on, he was working on an old table saw and he had a capacitor issue on his motor, and we talked about that and, what are the different options? And it's not so much about fixing it as it is about expanding your mind to determine what else is out there that makes life worth living. What is it out there that makes it, fun to get up and take a breath and look around and go, all right, world, what else you got for me? Because I'm ready. I'm right here. I'm ready to take it in. In fact, I'm ready to take it on. Yeah, good stuff. Lewis, thanks for the email. I really appreciate it. I also got an email from Zarko. It's titled Fountain Pen Tip. Hi, my name is Zarko, and I've been listening to your podcast for about a year. In the last podcast, you've complained about some expensive cartridges for a fountain pen. Since I'm also using fountain pens, I'm refilling such cartridges with bottled ink and a syringe. That way, not only do you save money on the cartridges, but you also have more ink colors available. Keep up the good work, Zarko. Well, Zarko, yeah, I have done that in the past. The only problem is, I hate to admit this, I'm not that coordinated sometimes, and I was filling an ink cartridge with a syringe so I could use it. I was putting purple ink in it. And I slipped and I sprayed purple ink all over my hand, all over the desk, on my computer. It was like, oh my gosh. Since then, I have been a big fan of the converter cartridges, the ones that have the pistons in them that, you twist the little knob on top and the piston goes up and down and it sucks the ink up. But yes, you can do that. And if you're coordinated, you will probably have a lot of luck. And yes, you can save a lot of money doing it. The other thing that I've done before that also helped is I would take a black cartridge and I wanted to do like a red ink or something. Well, if you put the red ink in with the remnants of the black ink, it turns kind of dark burgundy, or sometimes it just turns black and you really can't tell the difference. So what I do before I had one syringe that had a cutoff, all my syringes had cutoff needles. They were not sharp needles. Okay. So it was just a cutoff needle. But I would use this one, and this one never touched ink. It was only used for water. And I would sit there at the sink and I would wash those cartridges out before I refilled them. And that way I could change inks as I wanted to. And so, yeah, great tip. And in fact, I thought about that with my little shaver before I found the little the piece that I will talk about later in the podcast. Zarko, thanks a lot for the email. So we're traveling out of the house today in, just a little bit of light rain. Nothing heavy, just kind of light. Just enough really to get the ground wet. And don't know how long it'll last, but it's all good stuff, It's summer. It gets hot. The, things out here need just a little bit of moisture to grow. Kind of like, why we wet shave, because a little moisture goes a long way in taking care of a lot of things. So the shave of the day today. I went ahead and used some deluxe shaving wood bridge. I lathered that up with my little Volfex travel brush and my blue ceramic bowl, which I haven't used in a long time, and had a great lather. I mean, just filled the bowl. One of the things that is noticeable with the smaller brushes, and my travel brush being one of them, is it just doesn't hold enough. I'm going to say enough soap. It doesn't hold enough soap for multiple passes. So it really makes it a situation where bowl lathering is kind of a necessity, or if you are using a shaving stick or face lathering, it's almost to the point where you have to reapply, if you will, or reload the brush sometimes with every pass. Otherwise, the lather just gets thin, and it's no more difficult than the fact that the brush can only hold so much. Well, because of its size, it's just not big. So it's not the brush's fault. I bought a small brush because that's what I wanted, that's what I needed. But it does have drawbacks. It's kind of like a large brush. In order to actually get enough soap to, play with, I guess, you have to load a little bit more into a larger brush, because. So anyhow, with that being said, it was a lovely lather, and of course, Woodbridge is one of my. I'm thinking it's one of my favorites. At this point, Woodbridge and Soul Man, I think, are right up there with some of my top fragrances for soaps. So all good stuff. Now, I went ahead and used a combination of a straight razor and a double-edged razor. I used a gold dollar razor. Now, I haven't used my gold dollar razor in a while. I've been enjoying using a combination of straights and either single edge or double edge for cleanups and touch-ups. I've enjoyed that the last couple of days. One thing that I noticed is that the gold dollar it's a little rough. It's probably due to get sent out and maybe get rehoned or something like that. It's been a while, and it's rougher than some of my other straight razors. Got a little bit more razor burn, to be quite honest. And okay, I'm willing to accept that. Perhaps. As the blade sharpness deteriorates, it transitions from the equivalent of a feather blade down to some of the lower, rougher blades. Okay, I get that. It's makes sense. Anyhow, I did that, and then I touched up with my Mercure Bakelite. With a feather blade in it, and the only reason that I picked that and that I picked the combination is that the colors kind of matched. A red handle and a red handle. I don't know. It was just one of those things. But finished all that off with Gelou aftershave Veiled Flowers. And now one of the things that I wanted to mention that kind of dawned on me is I have an Illume block, and I used the Illume block this morning because, like I said, I did get just a little bit of razor burn. So to kind of soothe that and take that down to a dull roar, I used my Illume block. Now, the Illume block that I have is an Osma, and that's a French company, and it is a solid Illume block. I think when I bought it, it was like $9 or something like that. is somewhere in that neighborhood, $6 or $9. And the thing that absolutely amazes me is, quite honestly, I must say, that single purchase for something that is used, for something that is consumed, is probably the best value for the money that I have made in wet shaving. And the reason I say that is I have used that aluminum block, not every day, but a lot of days over the course of almost 2 years, and it's probably worn down about a quarter, which means I've got another 2 or 3 or maybe 4 years of life before it gets so small that it's just not, you can't, you worry about breaking it or something like that. I mean, it's a phenomenally long-lasting purchase, and I've really, really been impressed with it. And it struck me as I was taking a picture of it that, with my shave of the day this morning, that little aluminum block has been around, well, seemingly forever. And, most things, a soap, you'll use up a soap, blades, you'll use blades, even a brush, depending on the quality of the brush, that's, after 2 years, do they start breaking down or something? I don't know. My 830 hasn't, but that's the oldest one that I have, that I use constantly. So it is just, for a consumable. You think about, the can of a goo that may last, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months maybe. A cartridge razor where the cartridges last, a week. A blade where, they last a week or something like that. Within the realm of consumables, having something last a couple of years and only be a quarter of the way worn is, wow, good stuff. Anyhow, I wanted to mention that because they do help. It has antiseptic properties, and it makes your face feel better if you do have a little bit of razor burn, and so it's good stuff. So, if you are considering one, I would suggest it. My suggestion would be the Ozma, just because, or Ozma. I don't know how you pronounce it. I don't know how you pronounce half these words. I just make it up as I go along. Anyhow, I would suggest it. It's a good buy. So I just wanted to comment on that because, like I said, it struck me this morning as I was both using it and kind of, looking at it. So here's something that I didn't expect to see. At least I haven't seen it for a while. Another YouTube video. But this one, is a little special because this one is made by none other than Mantic59. And he hasn't made a YouTube video in a while, so this is kind of cool. And what he does this YouTube video on is, it's titled, How to Shave Under the Nose. And it's interesting because without having watched his YouTube video, I do, just about exactly what he shows being done in that video. The only thing that I miss is that when he does an against the grain pass, he does an against the grain pass across his whole upper lip. I do not do that. I turn the blade kind of at an angle and then do kind of a cross grain against the grain, Gillette slide across that area. But I'll put a link in the show notes to this video because, it's Mantic. And he does a good job at videos, and I hadn't seen one for a while, so I thought I'd mention it because, it's just good stuff. Plus, it's the same way I do it, so obviously, he's right. So one of the things that I did this week was I played around with, one of my pens. And the pen that I was messing around with was my Pilot Vanishing Point fountain pen. Now, and I put some pics up on the blog and in the descriptions here, the show notes, as it were, because the fountain, or the fountain pen, the vanishing point, has a clicker button on top, kind of like a ballpoint pen, a classic Bic or whatever, where you got to push the button and the ballpoint comes out the bottom. Well, it's the same kind of thing, except in this case you push the button and the fountain pen tip comes out the bottom. Although really it's the top because of the way the clip is, but that's kind of a unique feature of the pen, and there you go. Anyhow, there is a chrome collar that goes around that push button. Now, and it didn't happen until like last week, and I went, what the hey? That chrome collar basically got loose from the body of the pen and was floating up and down, and it was probably moving, I don't know, probably talking about 4 or 5 millimeters, and it wouldn't come out. There was something retaining it, but it was just, and it was annoying. It was irritating. It's like, my gosh, my pen, it's not solid anymore. What the hey, this is not right. This is not good. This is like bad. It sure isn't quality. So what I did is I got on the internet and said, okay, how do you fix these things? I've never had a pen that like fell apart like that I've had repair. And so I said, well, okay, let's look it up and find out how to fix these things. Now, one of the things that was mentioned that I thought was absolutely an excellent idea was to get a GS cement, and it's G-S. And I got it at Hobby Lobby. It was $7 for a little tube, and it has a little precision applicator. It's like a little hypo needle on a tube, I guess, so that you can get very precise. And it's not a super glue. It is a glue, and it does a good job. It's used for jewelry and things like that, and with the applicator, you can really get in there tight. So what I did is I cleaned things up and went ahead and applied that cement on that chrome piece, and then pushed that chrome piece back into the body of the pen, and cleaned it up and let it sit for a couple of days. And lo and behold, I am happy to report that my pen is back in business. My pen is back in action. The little top cap there is right where it's supposed to be. It's not floating around. It's not moving. I am happy, and my pen is back again in action in all of its glory. So a couple of things to comment on. First off, fountain pens, being just like, any other nice thing that we have, whether that be a razor or, straight razor or, single-edged, double-edged razor, a nice brush, whatever, okay? When they break, they're not, disposable. It's not like the disposable Bic that when it breaks, the pocket clip comes off, you throw it in the trash can, and you move on with life. You don't do that with one of these things. You don't do that with fine quality products that are designed to first off be repairable, and secondly to last for a long time. So, there is a necessity to investigate and to learn about, how to fix things. And so I was happy to be able to do that. I was very happy and fortunate for the internet with its just scads of information out there that allow me to go and at a moment's notice find, information and the ability to fix things quickly and easily and find sources and stuff like that. So that's what I did with the repair of my fountain pen that I mentioned I would probably do last week, and it did in fact turn out just well. Now, the fountain pen that I have been using since then has been the little Schaefer, the little calligraphy flat point steel fountain pen that I bought at Hobby Lobby for a whole $9. And it has been doing a good job. Now, when I talked about it last week, one of the things I mentioned was that the ink cartridge only lasts about a week. Now, if I go to Hobby Lobby and I check the internet and the prices are about the same there, it was about $6 or $7 for like 5 cartridges. Five, I don't know, it's like 5 or 6 in the package. But it's like $1 a cartridge. It's like $1 a week. It's like, okay, well, if the ink is really good, maybe it's worth it. The ink that I had, anyhow, was not really, really good. It would skip. It would not flow correctly. So, you'd be going along, and writing something, and then all of a sudden you do like a T, and the top part of your T is gone because the ink just stopped flowing, and then it comes back in the second part of the T, and then, it's like, well, what the hey? So I started looking around for other solutions because I wasn't really happy with the flow of the ink in the proprietary Schaefer cartridges. And one of the things that I found, which I immediately purchased and have been enjoying these last couple of days, is a piston converter that allows me to fill the pen directly from a bottle of ink. Now, I have multiple bottles of ink, different colors and things like that. And one thing that I can say about bottled ink, that stuff flows so nicely compared to the ink that was in the cartridges. I wasn't happy with the cartridge ink at all. I'm sorry. It wasn't flowing right. And so the converter that I purchased was a whole whopping $10. And so call it $20, and I have a very nice functional pen that I can fill up and put different colored inks in with not a whole lot of muss and fuss. And it works well, flows beautifully, writes a whole lot better when it has ink that flows in it. And just all in all, good stuff for $18 to $20. I call it $20. Yeah. So not a bad deal. I mean, realistically, that is not a bad deal. That's a pretty low price for entry. So interesting stuff. I have thoroughly enjoyed that experience, and I was very happy with my purchase. Now, this also brings me to something when it comes to pens that somebody put up on Facebook today. In fact, it was Matt down there in Georgia at the command post, and he put in he put on this thing. It was from the BBC and BBC magazine, I guess, and BBC News magazine. Why are fountain pen sales rising? And it was like, man, that's just cool. Okay, so you might expect that email and the ballpoint pen had killed the fountain pen, but sales are rising. So is the fountain pen. So is the fountain pen a curious example of an old-fashioned object surviving the winds of change? Good stuff. So anyhow, the Why Are Fountain Pen Sales Rising by Stephen Brocklehurst, and I'll put a link to the article. And but good stuff. I found that rather cool as I've been playing with fountain pens this week, and just generally enjoying them. I take a lot of notes, and I find that if I have a good pen and an endless supply of ink, I enjoy writing out my notes on paper. And in fact, one of the things that kind of occurred to me, I was thinking about this, and again, this is a strange way that my mind works. But one of the things that dawned on me is that back in the day when I was in grade school anyhow, I had an English teacher named Mrs. Smith. And Mrs. Smith was your, almost typical English teacher. Tall, thin, hair up in a bun, glasses, kind of, you get the idea. And up above the blackboard, I remember distinctly, were letters, printed letters. And each one of those letters had the directions and numbers of the strokes in order to make those letters, both uppercase and lowercase, as well as numbers at the end. And it was laid out on top of the blackboard so that everybody could see it. And I remember in that class, in my English class, when I was in grade school, learning how to print. And I learned how to print, the capital letters, lowercase letters. They give you the big pencil and the paper that has the dotted line in the middle so that you can get your letters about the right size and height and everything. And that was just something that we did. And I never really questioned it until my youngest son was in school, and when he was older, I saw him attempting to write something on a piece of paper and realized that he was making letters in a fashion that was, well, completely foreign to me. For example, when he was making B's and D's, the stalks on his D's and B's would start at the bottom and go up. Well, that's not right. That's not the way I learned it. That's not the way that diagram showed it. I remember. Lord knows Mrs. Smith beat it into me with her ruler that there was only one way to make these letters. And what he was doing was not that way. So I got to talking to him, and it turns out that, well, they don't teach that anymore. Now, the thing that's curious about it, I'd never thought about this before, but as I was sitting there playing with my new fountain pen, with the square tip, so you can do kind of, it's not really calligraphy, but you can make letters that are kind of cool and things like that. It dawned on me that perhaps, and I don't know this, but it's just a supposition on my part, that perhaps the reason that they taught people how to print in the fashion that they did was so that they could get the ink to flow correctly out of a fountain pen. And it's just, it was one of those things that it was like, wow, I never really thought about that. I wonder if that's what happened. I wonder if that's how they came up with it. And the more I practice and the more I play with my fountain pens, the more it just sticks in my head that, well, of course that's the right way to do it, because you can't go and push a fountain pen upwards and expect good ink flow to make nice letters. Interesting. My, how times have changed. And now, with the rise of, well, pencils and computers, we don't teach children a valuable skill that may get in their way if, like this article says, they someday decide they too want a fountain pen. Well, it happens to be a beautiful summer morning here. Sunshine, 77 degrees, light humidity, not too bad. It's pretty nice. It's actually been a nice summer. It hasn't been too humid, and it's been hot a couple weeks or so, but all in all, hadn't been too bad so far. So, good stuff there. Anyhow, the shave of the day, and in fact, I've done this a couple of times now. I'm using the Deluxe Shaving Soap and my boar brush, my 1305, and I have decided, well, for a couple of days anyhow, to go with the old tried and true single edge. And it just so happens that the single edge that I chose was the one that was right there in the middle of my razor rack that's hanging on the wall, and happens to be my gem Damascene. One of the finest razors, single edge razors, that I know, of the traditional styles. Now, there are people that say that, oh, well, you got to have a mongoose or a cobra or something like that. Okay, those might be real good razors. I don't know. Don't have one. They're a little bit rich for my blood. But the ones that I'm talking about are the classic single-edged razors that use the classic single-edged blade, not the feather blade that is a little bit longer and, if I understand correctly, made for shavettes or something like the shavette. So I have been using my gem Damascene, and I have been using it with my favorite single-edged blades, and those would be my gem or my PAL carbon steel blades. Now, I've also got some gem stainless, but quite honestly, the PAL carbon steels just, well, they feel better. They really do. They just feel better. It's almost like they have a smoother edge on them and cause me less irritation And it's not that the gem stainless causes, like, razor burn and, just it's nasty and all this. No, it's not like that at all. But there is a difference, and it gives the PAL carbon steel blades, well, an edge. So, anyhow, the Damascene with the PAL carbon steel, and using the deluxe shaving soap, and used the Barbershop Citrus this morning, which really was nice. Now, I bloomed it, and here's something for folks that don't bloom very often. Okay, so you are filling up your bowl in order to soak your brush, and you've got the warm water going, and you're half asleep, and you drop the brush in it, and just it's something that you don't do very often, but you reach over with the open can of soap, the open puck of soap, and you put some warm water in it and set it there to bloom, and then proceed to take a shower. Now, of course, in the shower, you wake up a little bit. Your mind is running, throughout the day, and just kind of going over things, and hopefully it's not a oh God, I'm late situation, but more of a, this is what I have to do today, and try to get organized and figure out what comes next, and maybe what kind of coffee you're going to have, or something like that. You get out of the shower, and your mind is completely not focused on shaving or what you're doing because, well, in the past it hasn't had to be because you don't normally bloom. And so you grab the brush, and you shake the water out of the brush, and then you grab the puck of soap and flip it up sideways over the bowl in order to load the brush, and just a split second before you flip it over the bowl, you realize that you have just poured water over everything. Dang. So if you don't bloom very often, it may be something that you want to figure out how to make a mental note, maybe put the soap in a special place that rings a bell that, hey, there's water in this thing. To prevent doing what I did and dumping soapy water all over, well, everything. And, yeah. Anyhow, it loaded very, very nicely. Blooming a soap does soften it up a little bit and hydrates it and allows it to load a lot easier, that's for sure. And so it does load nicely, and because of that, you end up getting an extremely nice, thick lather. And really was it was a beautiful lather. I probably could have had plenty of soap and plenty of lather. Probably could have shaved 2 or 3 times with it, and it was really, really nice. Now, one thing that's interesting is that I have not bloomed normally, and normally when I load, I don't know, for maybe 30 seconds, not too long, and it's just, until it looks right, I suppose, and then when I bowl lather, I end up having, well, just about the right amount of lather for a 3-pass shave, some touch-ups, so that I'm not, dumping a whole bunch of lather down the sink. It's just kind of curious that way. Now, this time when I lathered in the bowl there was a copious amount of lather. So there is that, potential downside to blooming, and if it's not part of your normal routine, you're going to end up using more soap than what you're potentially used to. Now, it does provide an absolutely luxurious lather situation and a very nice shave to then follow. So all was good. So, 3-pass shave, some touch-up, some buffing action actually with the Damascene on the neck. And it all worked very, very nicely, and finish that up with, what did I finish that up with? Oh, yeah, I finished it up with some fine platinum, and very nice scent. And I only wish that I had, that the large bottle had been available when I purchased. I ended up getting a sample, and the sample only lasts like, 2 applications or so, enough to give you a hint. But I sure would like a large bottle, so I'll have to look around and see, because I do like the platinum scent. So that was kind of the shave of the day, and then I went down, took care of some stuff, and off to the old donut factory. But at least I'm clean shaven and in good condition mentally to carry on. So I've been having a conundrum lately. Okay, here's my conundrum. I'm fast approaching the 2-year point. Episode 104 will be 2 years almost exactly. And in fact, it will be 2 years exactly, because up until now, I haven't missed a week. And I realized that I was seriously stressing about what I was going to do, because I didn't have anything lined up for the week that I am away at Boy Scout summer camp. Now, I understand that I have been consistent, and I have been, just churning out episode after episode, but I have been stressing, and unfortunately, one of the things that has caused is a lack of ideas, I guess, because I'm too busy stressing. And in addition to that, I've got a lot of stress going on at work in the week leading up, or actually 2 weeks leading up to taking a week off and going on vacation. Why is that? Why is it at work that when you take vacation, you come back and everything's piled up to the point where it's almost not worth it to take vacation? You work your butt off really ahead of time to get ready for vacation, and then you come back and you're absolutely slammed because you were gone on vacation. It really is kind of a sad state of affairs when you think about it, that we've gotten to a point in our business communities, especially with large corporations. Now, I can understand if you're a sole proprietor or something like that, but in large business communities, that we do not have enough depth in the playing field, if you will, that a person can take a week and not be absolutely swamped, slammed, pounded when they get back. It's really, it really is interesting. Yet at the same time, they you got 93 million people out of work here in the United States, or who are not looking for work, I guess is the technically appropriate phrase. So you got all these people not looking for work, and mainly because the jobs, aren't out here. Of course, they'll tell you that it's the jobs that, nobody wants, but yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really buy that. I'm thinking that the jobs just aren't there. But that's just me, and it's going to get worse. They keep coming up with robots and things to make. They're talking about robots at McDonald's to make hamburgers. And they'll probably do a better and more consistent job than the people that they have there now. Every now and then you get a hamburger at McDonald's and it has like a little itty bitty spot of ketchup on it. Next time you go, the thing's flooded in it. I hate to say it, but a robot hamburger maker will take care of that. Be much more consistent, less waste. Work 24/7, all it needs is electricity and a little maintenance, and there you go. So, it's coming, and it's coming on both ends. It's, they've got a robot anesthesiologist now, so, nothing's safe from somebody inventing a computer capability, if you will, to do the same job. So, the idea that there are not jobs out there, it's, yeah. So anyhow, I just kind of digressed off of that, didn't I? So I'm sitting here and I'm stressing over the fact that I don't know what to do next week. And I thought, wait a minute. This podcast is a hobby. This podcast is not a business. This podcast is not, yeah, I get samples of soaps every now and then for reviews, but I give them away when I'm done and piff them. And, I might keep one that I really like just so I can go back to it every now and then and do comparisons or something. But for the most part, I buy my own stuff, or at least a lot of it. I pay for the podcast and everything else. Yeah, we have a fundraiser we had last year or earlier this year that really did a pretty good job, actually, for all things considered. I hadn't really thought about that only because I never thought I brought much to value. In any fair trade situation, you have to have a belief that what you are bringing to the trade blanket is actually worth trading. I'm just a guy out here telling you about my shaving experience. It's kind of rambling on about things that pop into my head. I'm not trying to make a living at it. And so, I'm sitting here and I realize that I'm stressing over, well, nothing. I'm stressing over myself. I'm causing my own stress. I have no obligations to make an episode every week. I like to. It's just kind of the way I am. I think you guys have come to expect it. But at the same time, I've been doing this for 96 weeks at this point, and I haven't missed one. The only time that I ever had an issue was I was late on one episode. I think I published it on Sunday instead of Thursday, and I'm not so sure that it wasn't the last time I was at summer camp. So the bottom line is, I need a vacation. I'm taking a vacation. I'm taking next week off. And once I came to the realization that that is what I was going to do, and to stop stressing over the small stuff, things became, much more relaxed. It was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. So anyhow, I hope you guys understand. It's not because I don't want to put out an episode. It's just that I don't have anything lined up. I don't have anything pre-prepared and in the docket, if you will, to self-publish next Thursday. So we'll just skip a week, and I'll take a week of vacation. I figure, what the heck, if radio announcers can do it, I ought to be able to too. Anyhow, I'm sure you'll understand. But okay, if you miss my voice, God knows why you would. But if you do, there are 95 previous episodes that you can go to my blog, which is the BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. And you can go to that blog and you can scroll down and hear every single episode that I have. I believe they're all there. Some will divert. I think the early ones will still divert you over to Podcast Garden, and the other ones are linked into the blog post itself through my Libsyn account. Those were the two that I've used over the years. And there you go. So go research a small scuttle that you can make yourself with a salsa bowl and a berry bowl, or go look at listen to the first episodes to hear how bad they were. But it's all good, and I look forward to getting back to you guys and tell you all about Scout Camp and how that all went. So, I was thinking about something the other day, and a colleague came in and discussed it with me, and kind of came to a revelation. You know, it used to be, we've gotten kind of, I don't know, backwards in our society. And I will lay the blame squarely, absolutely squarely, on the premise of politically correct speech. You know, it used to be that correctness equated to truth. And you could say the truth and you would be correct. Now, at some point, somebody convinced us, because of someone's feelings or whatever, that if we said the truth and it impacted somebody and it affected their feelings, that we couldn't do that. And so, as a society, we started to self-censor ourselves, and that has continued to the point where we now actually, in many, many instances, our speech, our correctness, and we'll call this political correctness, is actually equal to the inverse of truth. And the funny thing is that we keep doing it. Nobody really says, wait a minute, stop. And we even come to the point where we make jokes about it. I don't know where this came from. I don't know where this self-censorship came from. But somewhere along the way, we got to the point where we can't say anything about anything if somebody's going to be upset about it. And I'm sorry. That is a society that has, by its own workings, taken away people's First Amendment rights. Because our First Amendment is freedom of speech. And freedom of speech should not apply, as it was once said, to things that you agree with, but in fact, freedom of speech needs to apply to those things that you don't agree with. Because then you run into the same thing that we run into with marketing. If there is no freedom of speech and you can only say things that are agreeable, who decides? Who decides what is agreeable? You know, it's kind of like shaving. If you only had one choice of a razor, who decides? Who gets to decide? And on what grounds? On what basis? Is it because they manufacture it? Is it because they've paid enough money to the government that they get special consideration? Who decides? And the thing is that most people don't think about things like that. They think, oh, well, you shouldn't be offensive. Okay. Potentially a fair statement. However, there is nothing that says I have to be a non-offensive person. If I want to be offensive, I can be offensive. As long as I'm not slanderous, as long as I don't strike or assault somebody, I should be able to, and some would argue that we thought we had this right, to be able to say anything. You know, there are a few limitations. The one that in particular comes to mind is yelling fire in a crowded theater because there might be injury that results. Okay, I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, if you subscribe to politically correct speech, the question that I have for you, and it is a fundamental question, who decides? Who makes the rules? Who gets to tell you what to say, what you can say, what you can think, how you must act? Who decides? And then I have to ask the follow-up question, why the heck do they get to say? Why do they get to control your life? Because they're elected? Did you elect them? Because the majority of people elected them? So the majority gets to tell you now what to do? Because the minority elected them. Well, now does the minority get to tell you what to do? And as I said before, a lot of people don't think about it on those bases. A lot of people just think, oh, it's, politically correct, you can't say that. And they stop there. But there's deeper thought and deeper thinking that maybe should take place. Because you have to understand that once you go down a certain path, follow it to its logical conclusion. And the logical conclusion for political speech is then political action, politically correct action and politically correct policies. And again, I ask you the question, who decides? And are you okay with them, whoever them are, making that choice? And if they're one side of a dichotomy, for example, are you okay when the other side gets in power for that side to all of a sudden be capable of deciding how you speak, how you act, how you live? It's a curious thing. But the interesting thing is that it parallels in a lot of ways marketing. Because somebody somewhere has decided what products are available to us. Somebody somewhere has decided, for example, that for the most part, the classic double-edged razor twist-to-open adjustable type is not as available as it used to be. Now, think about that. Wouldn't you like to have it available? Wouldn't you like to be able to go to your corner store and buy a decent double-edged or single-edged razor at a fair price? But somebody has decided that that is not to be. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that somebody has taken away that choice locally and forced you to go on the internet? Now, it might not be that big a inconvenience for you, but somebody somewhere has decided. Are you okay with those kind of decisions? Because if that kind of decision bugs you, even a little bit, why do you allow somebody to decide that it's not politically correct to say something and stop somebody from speaking their mind just because? Again, it's all a question of who decides. And how are you okay with those people making decisions that impact and affect your life? Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at Brush and Blade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.